Hello everyone, Silent here, and welcome back to another Bedrock Edition tutorial. Today I'll be showing you how to farm everything new in the 1.17 Caves and Cliffs update. There are 37 things that we can farm using the new mechanics, blocks, and mobs. In today's video, I'll be showing you how to build a bunch of small-scale farms to get you a bunch of easy and quick items for the 1.17 update. However, I'll have large-scale dedicated tutorials releasing soon, such as an Amethyst Geode farm, a Azalea tree farm, and other things as well. So now's a good time to make sure that you're definitely subscribed to the channel so that you don't miss the new tutorials. And also, let me know what you want to see first down in the comment section. I want to release things that you guys can actually use and get some use out of, so let me know what you want to see first down below. On screen right now, you can see a graph of every single new block, item, and mob in 1.17, and in this chest right here, you can see all of those things that are actually farmable and renewable. As you can see, we have 37 different things that are actually renewable in this update, only 4 of which are not new in 1.17. The old things are water, lava, logs, and sticks. They're not new in 1.17, but there are new ways of farming these, of course. You'll notice that I'm not counting all the different varieties of a copper block in this update. There are 32 varieties of copper that are all basically the same, and if I counted every single one of those, we would have 68 total items that we could farm in this update. And one last thing before we get into it, if you're unsure of how to acquire any of the new 1.17 items, blocks, or mobs, check out my recent video. I show you how to get absolutely everything in vanilla survival, which might be of use to you if you're trying to make new farms in your Minecraft world. So first up, we have the axolotl and the glow squid. Axolotls don't really drop anything at all, but you can of course get the axolotls in a bucket and just have nice little friends. Glow squids of course drop the glow ink, which allows you to also make the glow item frames. Now specifically for the axolotl, you can use these guys in a variety of different aquatic farms, such as squid and fish farms, because axolotls attack pretty much everything that is aquatic and underwater. Axolotls and glow squids have some incredibly basic spawning parameters, and they are actually quite easy to farm. These spawning conditions are bound to change as of 1.18 when they introduce the lower world generation. They can spawn anywhere in the world as long as there is water and there is some form of solid block above that water. The axolotls and glow squids do not care about light levels in the slightest. They can spawn in complete darkness or complete brightness. As you can see, they're spawning above a bed of sea lanterns right now. Axolotls and glow squids can also spawn at or below Y level 63. They cannot spawn above Y level 64, and this is actually a block above the regular ocean level, as you can see. Now, the mob cap of axolotls and glow squids is actually 4, and they happen to share the same mob cap. So if we have 2 axolotls in the area, we're only ever going to have another 2 glow squids in the area, and vice versa. There's just a hard cap of 4. So those are the specifics of how they spawn and their mob cap. As of how to farm them, you would basically just build a standard tank like how we normally do squid farms, but instead of building it way up in the sky above an ocean, we need to build it at or below ocean level, and you don't even need to build it in an ocean. You can build it in a desert, you can build it in any biome that you want to, because glow squids and axolotls spawn everywhere in the world as long as there was water with solid blocks above it. Moving on to goat farms. These things are incredibly simple, but currently there's no reason to actually farm them besides as pets. Goat horns have not been added to Minecraft as of yet. Goats are a really easy thing to farm since you can find them in any of your extreme hills mountain biomes. They are lured with wheat, and you can breed them with wheat as well. Now the thing about goats is you can't have a standard animal pen for them because they can jump like 6 blocks high. So I've designed a little bit of a basic pen just to contain them. You want to put a roof over it, 2 high block walls, a fence with a carpet on it, which is a pretty standard way of entering an animal pen, and then I have a fence gate right here to make sure they don't jump out of the roof. So now you can get in here and breed all these dudes if you want to, and kill them for experience, I suppose. Breeding them is also a great way of getting a screaming goat if you're trying to get one of those in your Minecraft world. Moving on to copper farming. Copper ingots are actually a renewable thing in Minecraft because they are dropped by drowns. Now, we don't really have that many good drown farms on Bedrock Edition, so usually it's not going to be worth your time actually farming them, but I'll talk more about this in a moment. Farming copper, of course, allows you to get the lightning rods, spyglasses, and 32 different varieties of copper blocks. However, you'll also want a bee farm to get the honeycomb That way you can wax the 16 different versions of waxed copper block. So the thing about copper is it is extremely common all throughout your Minecraft world, and Fortune 3 now affects raw ores. So if we break 5 of these copper ores, we're actually going to get 38 raw copper. 38 ingots from 5. This is just with Fortune 3. That is ridiculous. Really? 38? That is way more than I expected. I expected like 10. Anyway, yeah, so you know how long this would take to get via a drown farm? It's really not worth it. Just go mining for like literally an hour. It's just ridiculous. There's so much copper absolutely everywhere in the Minecraft world. Building a drown farm for it is really not worth it. And keep in mind, you need to use looting on your drown farm to get the best copper drop rates, and they just really don't drop that much copper, and they only ever drop a single ingot at a time, if I recall correctly. So building a drown farm, sadly, just is not quite worth it. Moving into the different block farms, we have the smooth basalt. This is a really easy thing to farm. You can build yourself a very small basalt farm just with like 1 block in the overworld or in the nether, and then you simply smelt down the regular basalt in a furnace to get the smooth variety. I already have a tutorial on some really good basalt farms. You can check those out if you feel like it. Next up, we have the Amethyst Geode farm. This will give you 7 different items plus the spyglass, so you can get the amethyst shards, the large amethyst crystals, amethyst blocks, tinted amethyst, and the large, medium, and small budding amethyst crystals too. Now, the thing about amethyst geodes is that I feel like they're designed to not be good for farming. So this is a single amethyst bud. You can have anywhere from like 13 to like nearly 50 buds per amethyst, and you'll need a total of 6 different pistons to break each of these 6 amethyst clusters that grow on every side of this block. This creates an absolute mess of pistons, redstone, hoppers, and or water streams. This is like basically the most compact, lossless version that I could come up with in a couple of minutes, and as you can see, it's not really ideal. Combine that with the fact that these things take absolutely hours to grow, it's not really worth it at all. This is the game running at 1,000 times speed, so this is 1,000 times what you'll see in a regular vanilla survival world. It's just not really worth automating in my opinion. The final nail in the coffin for automating an amethyst geode farm is the fact that breaking an amethyst crystal with a piston will only ever drop 2 amethyst shards. As you can see, we have 4 of these crystals right here. If we break that using pistons, that is only going to give us a total of 8 of these shards. That is enough for 8 spyglasses or 4 pieces of tinted glass. Not really worth it at all. Now, if we harvest that same 4 crystals with a Fortune 3 pickaxe, we're going to get a significant amount more. As you can see, we got 16 just from 1 of them. If we harvest 4 of them with Fortune 3, we already got 48. It is an absolute no-brainer. It is just designed to not be good to farm. The amount of resources and time it would take to build an amethyst geode farm like this, it just simply isn't worth it. Another bonus of harvesting them manually is if you use Silk Touch, you can actually get the individual phases of the crystals as well, and then you can place these down anywhere that you like in your Minecraft world, and they're honestly really cool looking. If you still don't believe me about harvesting them manually, I harvested a large geode and a small geode on Truly Bedrock Season 3, and I got over 45 stacks of amethyst crystals. Another new farm that's possible in 1.17 is the moss farm. For this one, you'll get moss blocks, moss carpets, azalea, and flowering azalea bushes. However, this is going to require bone meal. This farm is also going to be a pretty good source of bone meal, however, since you can essentially turn stone into moss, and then put those moss blocks and carpets into a composter. Right now, there is a bug on Bedrock Edition where moss blocks and carpet don't pop off when pushed by a piston like they should. So as you can see right now, they're just like a standard block and they just get moved around. Whereas on Java Edition, they'll actually pop off like a torch or other blocks like that. And they should be popped off as an item when pushed around. So we're gonna have to wait a little while to make some proper ideal moss farms on on Bedrock Edition. If you're interested, there's a bug report link to this down in the description of the video. Once this bug is fixed, I'll have a dedicated tutorial for a moss farm and bone meal farm releasing on the channel. Probably the most interesting farm in the 1.17 update is the Azalea tree farm. This will allow you to get the azalea and flowering azalea bushes, flowering and normal azalea leaves, logs, sticks, rooted dirt, and moss carpets as well. It's basically a version of a moss farm that happens to produce a bunch of logs. This is actually the first ever fully AFK and playerless tree farm available in Minecraft, and it's really, really awesome. This is also the primary way of getting rooted dirt. And this is another farm that will require a large source of bone meal, but of course you can get a small return of bone meal by composting the unnecessary and unused items. There's a ton of different ways that you can customize and build an azalea tree farm. However, I would like to wait until the moss pushing bug is removed. That way I could combine a moss farm to power the bone meal for the actual azalea tree farm itself. And next up we have dripstone farms. These things are actually really easy to build, but they're also incredibly slow, so you definitely want to automate these. This will allow you to get the pointed dripstones, the dripstone blocks, allow you to farm lava, and also allow you to pointlessly farm water too. So this is the basics of what a small scale dripstone farm would look like. You got some water at the top, some form of solid blocks, and then some dripstones pointing downwards. This is currently running at 3,000 times speed, so don't expect these rates in your Minecraft world at all. However, once the dripstone grows downwards in front of an observer, it will get broken, and as you can see, we can also have dripstones growing on the floor on top of those hoppers too. So after a very long time in your Minecraft world, this little farm will produce some dripstones, and of course you can scale this up to be any size that you want it to be. To build a single module of this pointed dripstone farm, you want to place down a chest in the ground and then a hopper behind that pointing into the chest. One piston facing forwards, an observer facing towards the front of the farm, and then another piston above that like so. Go behind this piston, place down a solid block, redstone dust, solid block above that, and then another piece of redstone dust right there. You want a block above that piston, and then one dripstone block directly above that. Go ahead and surround this dripstone block with some glass or other various blocks, and now we're going to place some water on top of this. It has to be a water source. Flowing water does not work. And then we're going to place in our dripstone underneath that, and then simply surround this entire area in some glass or other solid blocks of your choice. Place in yourself a stair right above the chest down there, and that is your little dripstone farm done. If we put the random tick speed onto 3,000, you can see that it grows eventually, and then whenever it grows directly in front of that observer, it will all be harvested and put into your chest. So this is going to be incredibly slow, legitimately the slowest farm in Minecraft history. If you want a lot of these things, you're going to need to build a lot of these things, like, you know, 50 or something. Lava is also renewable now as well, which is a pretty awesome thing. All you need is a lava source, a solid block below that, dripstone, and then a cauldron, and then eventually your cauldron will fill up with lava, and you can also farm water this way too, but farming water is kind of pointless. Now, sadly, you can't automate this fully. As you can see, a dispenser cannot interact with cauldrons in any way. It's like this on Bedrock Edition and Java, so we can't have this be a playerless thing. You have to actually like AFK click on these cauldrons to empty them of either the lava or the water, which is a little bit unfortunate, but hey, we can still farm these things, so that's kind of cool. Moving on to a hanging root farm. This is an incredibly easy thing to build, but it will require some bone meal. As you can tell, the entire farm is literally 3 blocks wide and 2 blocks tall. You need yourself one piece of rooted dirt, a hanging root underneath that, observer facing the roots, solid block, redstone dust, and then a dispenser facing into your dirt right here. To use this, all you need is a pair of shears or any tool enchanted with silk touch, and then you simply mine this thing. Anything besides the shears won't even take any durability damage from mining these things, so you can literally stand here for as long as you have bone meal. It'll turn off whenever you stop mining or when you run out of bone meal. It is honestly incredibly simple. Now, on a related note, the rooted dirt cannot be farmed at the moment besides from azalea trees, and they really need to add a crafting recipe for it because right now the main way to get it is from a wandering trader. Next up, we have a glow lichen farm. This is also incredibly simple, however, it does require bone meal and a player interaction. So this thing is very simple. You simply stand in it and then just repeat mine the glow lichen that is in front of you. As you can tell, you just stand on a pressure plate right there. There's a sticky piston underneath it, an observer facing upwards right there. That gets pushed in front of the observer facing downwards. You have a bone meal dispenser and then an upside down stair above that so that you can simply access and refill that dispenser whenever it runs out of bone meal. Using this thing is incredibly simple. You just stand on the pressure plate and slightly inside the block, mine the block in front of you using a regular pair of shears, and then you get the maximum rates of the farm. You can use a silk touch tool, however, it doesn't give you the maximum rates. So as you can see right now, there is 3 glow lichen right there. If we break it with silk touch, we only get a single one. If we break it with shears, we will get all 3 of those. So you might consider enchanting your shears with efficiency 5 to speed this up. However, that doesn't have any actual effect on the mining speed from what I can tell. So just use a regular pair of shears. Glowberries are another very easy thing to farm in this update. However, this too also requires a bone meal and most of the time will require player interaction to use the farm. So as you can see right here, we just have a very simple system: lever to power a sticky piston, observer facing downwards, observer facing upwards, and then our bone meal dispenser right there. If we flick that on, literally all we need to do is just stand here and hold the right click button, and that will harvest all of the glowberries. This will never waste any of your bone meal, and that's really all there is to it. It's a really quick way of getting a lot of these things without very much effort. Glowberries do naturally grow on their own, so we can set up a very simple system to harvest them automatically using observers and pistons, and as you can see, they will actually give you some glowberries. This isn't going to be a very fast source of glowberries, but it will give you some over time. Treat it as kind of like a cactus farm. You build it, and then you come back like a month later, and then you got more glowberries than you can ever need. To build this glowberry farm, simply break out a block in the ground, place in a chest. You want a hopper behind that chest, and then an observer facing forwards right there. A piston above it, a block behind that piston, a redstone dust above it, and then simply have yourself a solid block, another solid block right there. Plant in your glowberries on the bottom of that block, and then simply put a little bit of a wall around this build like so. Place in yourself an upside down stair so you can access that chest, and some more blocks in front of it, and that is literally all there is to it. You can make this farm as wide as you want. Making it any taller isn't going to have any effect on the growth rate or how many glowberries you get, but you can add a whole bunch more plants to this by making it wider. And then there's the powdered snow farm, the simplest of them all. Simply go to any biome that is cold and wait for it to rain in your Minecraft world. It'll start snowing in those biomes, and then simply place down a cauldron. As long as there's no blocks above that cauldron, your cauldron will start filling up with snow, and you're gonna want a lot of these cauldrons. That way you can get a significant amount of powdered snow. Again, dispensers cannot interact with the cauldrons, so you have to go around clicking on all of these manually with a bucket, and luckily nothing happens if you click on a cauldron that is only partially full, so you can just spam buckets onto all of these cauldrons. So if it's raining for a long period of time in your world, you're going to be able to get a ton of powdered snow. Of course, the more cauldrons you have and the more buckets you have, the more powdered snow you can get. And next up, we have the Dripleaf Farm. These things aren't really useful for anything besides decoration, parkour, and maybe a little bit of redstone. This farm also requires bone meal and also requires player interaction. And a little bit of a note here, the small drip leaf is renewable, but you have to buy it from wandering traders or find it in lush caves. Drip leaf has some unique growing ways and makes it a little bit more difficult to farm than a regular crop like sugarcane or kelp. So for instance, whenever you bone meal this thing and then harvest it, the entire plant gets destroyed, and that means that you have to manually replant them each time instead of just growing and farming the same plant over and over and over again. So that means that we have to travel back and forth in a minecart, planting these things down manually, bone meal them, and then harvest them using some pistons, and that's really all there is to it. You get one drip leaf per bone meal. So if you want a stack of drip leaves, you're gonna require a stack of bone meal. Now the thing about drip leaf is, how much of it are you actually legitimately going to need? If the answer is less than a couple of stacks, then just go ahead and plant down like literally one of these things, and then just get an auto clicker or just spam click it with bone meal, and just grow it up to build height. As you can see, they grow really, really quickly. You can bone meal it at any point on the stalk, and if you break it at any point, the entire plant is going to get destroyed, and then you can just have a rain of drip leaves. So this will give you several stacks. There's really no point in building a farm for it if you don't need more than like 3 stacks. If you do want to build this Dripleaf farm, this is how you do it. We're going to start from the left side and go towards the right. So place in a solid block with a lever on top of it, 1 piece of powered rail, and then 5 pieces of regular rail, another piece of powered rail, and then another solid block with a lever behind it just to permanently power that. This is where your minecart is going to sit. We're going to go ahead and place in 6 regular blocks right here in this area, and this is where all of your Dripleaf is going to be getting planted. We're going to swing around the back side of this and remove these 3 blocks right here, place in a sticky piston, flick that lever, and then place an observer facing the rest of that farm over there. Break these 2 blocks right here, place another observer facing that one so that they clock, and then we want a solid block behind that. Remove these 4 blocks right here, and we're going to place in 4 pieces of redstone dust. We're now going to place in 2 observers facing downwards, 1 right there, and 1 right there. We can now go ahead and turn off the redstone and place in our 6 dispensers behind all of these. And now to finish up the build, we're just going to surround the area with some glass blocks. You can use whatever block you like. I'm just using glass because it looks nice. So place in some on the left and right sides, place in some right above your head, and now we're going to place in some regular pistons facing forwards in this area, some observers facing forwards on top of those, solid blocks behind the pistons, and redstone dust behind the observers, just like that. We're now going to build up all of these walls by 2 blocks going all the way across. Go ahead and put in a roof directly above those observers, and your farm is now done. Of course, you'll want to make sure to fill up all of your dispensers with some bone meal. If you feel like it, you can set up a bone meal distribution line on the back side of the build. Simply place 1 hopper going in each one of the dispensers, a rail line above that, and then a chest minecart. You can fill up the chest minecart with all of your bone meal, flick the lever, and then that will distribute a little bit to each one of your dispensers. And that is how you farm every single item in the 1.17 update. I hope that you have enjoyed, and of course, make sure to subscribe. That way you don't miss the upcoming tutorials for everything I didn't specifically show in today's video. There's gonna be like 4 or 5 tutorials specifically for 1.17 releasing here soon, so stay tuned, and I hope that you have enjoyed today's video. Of course, if you have, then consider leaving a like. It significantly helps out the video and the channel an absolute ton. I will see you guys down in the comment section and in the next one. And then there was silence.